Well, you know something?
There we go.
Yes. Oh, they believe it. I see the video.
Got it.
One time thought.
We are not gonna let them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And probably even the community.
oh, it's because it's not.
We're going to get started right off the bat with our first two community songs. I invite you to lift your voice wherever you are and join us in filling this universe with song. Here we go.
Take a look at the person next to you.
Take a look at the person next to you.
Say God loves you and I love you too.
God loves you and I love you too.
Feel the love and the unity.
Feel the love and the unity.
Lift your voice and repeat after me.
Lift your voice and repeat
We
after
come
me.
together.
We come together.
We come
We
together.
come together.
In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. Take a look at the person next to you.
Look at the person next to you.
Say, I recognize the God in you.
I recognize the God in you.
Feel the love and the unity.
Feel the love and the unity.
Lift your voice and repeat after me.
Lift your voice and repeat
We
after
come
me.
together.
We come together.
We come together.
We
We
come
come
together.
together.
We come together
In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. From every walk of life.
Every walk of life.
And every creed and color.
Every creed and color.
Kinship we unite.
Kinship we unite.
In honor of the God and each other. Take a look at the person next to you.
Look at the person next to you.
Say namaste, I bow to you.
Namaste, I bow to you.
Feel the love and the unity.
Feel the love and the unity.
Lift your voice and repeat after me.
Lift your voice and repeat after
We
me.
come together.
We come together.
Come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name. I can't hear you. Come together.
We come together. We come together.
We come together. In the name. One more time. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. In the name of love. We're gonna rock and roll a little bit. How about that?
It's always time for rock and roll.
Together we stand, divided we fall. Come on, people, now let's get on the ball and work together. Come on, let's work together. Because together we will stand. Everybody is fighting by the plan.
It's 2021.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, the road you travel, it seems all uphill. Let's work together. Come on, let's work together. Because together we will stand. Everybody is part of the plan. What we gonna do now? Make someone happy. Make someone smile. Let's all work together. Make life worthwhile. Let's work together. Come on, let's work together. Because together we will stand. Everybody is part of the plan. Put your hands together. Let's hear you now. Let's work together. That's what we're gonna do. We'll work together. Now come on now, people. Let's walk hand in hand. Let's make this world of ours a good place to stand and work together. Come on, let's work together. Because together we will stand. Everybody is part of the plan. Together we'll stand. Together we'll stand. Divided we'll fall. Come on now, people, let's get on the ball and work together. Come on, let's work together. Because together we will stand. Everybody is part of the plan. That's right. Because together we will stand. Everybody is part of the plan.
Turn my sound back on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to welcome everybody who has joined us while we were singing. My name is Reverend Rafe Ellis, and I am so honored and privileged to be the senior minister here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. And so I have the privilege of reminding us of who we are, and if you're visiting us for the first time, sharing with you who we are. We are a radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, supportive community that celebrates the very diversity of creation. We strive to live authentic spiritual lives through a practical application of the teachings of science of mind. We engage in sacred practices that uplift our spirit, deepen our awareness, and ignite our soul's self-expression. We demonstrate active compassion to ourselves, to one another, and the world. We experience meaningful contribution through giving generously of our time, talents, and treasures, and we intentionally promote our community and our teachings. And so if you are joining us on live stream, one of the ways that you can immediately participate in helping us share what we do here is by sharing this live stream on whatever social media platforms you play on. If you don't play on any of those and you're joining us through YouTube, you can share this YouTube link via email with anyone and everyone. Same thing applies for folks in the room. You can share that. Several of us have already shared it as it was loading up on our Facebook feeds, and so it's just a simple way to offer it to people who may not know we even exist. So one of the things that we do every Sunday morning is our candle lighting ritual, and our greeter this morning, Jill Wiggins, is going to come help me with this process this morning. Let me get her literally fired up. We light these candles to celebrate the unity of all people, all faiths, all beings, all life. We light the first candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples. We light the second candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the third candle for Taoism, honoring the path of ultimate reality, the natural way. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the middle way and path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the teachings of Jesus as the path of love, forgiveness, and healing by the presence within. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought teachings, and there are many, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of spiritual principles of love and law. We light the 10th candle for absolute inclusivity, affirming that all are welcome and celebrated here. And we light this final candle honoring the infinity of oneness as all creation, seen and unseen. Thank you, Jill. And so now, I want to invite you to lift your voice again, and let's fill this universe with song. Here we go.
Love is but a song we sing, feels the way we die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on each other. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Some may come and some may go, but we will surely pass. When the one that left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on each other. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
If you hear the song I sing, you will understand.
Listen.
You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Just one key and love symbol, there at your command. Come on,
People now, smile on each other. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. I said, come on, people now, smile on each other. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
right now, right
Thank you, musicians. So this is our time of announcements, and we have a bunch because it's that time of the year. So I want to just quickly go through the protocols. We are open for in-person, should you choose to attend. We are, hang on one second, Dale, not quite there yet. We are moving forward in alignment with the protocols set forth by Nevada County. We may or may not agree with them. That's not part of the equation. The equation is cooperation and working in community for the greater good. And so we are asking that people who attend wear masks because that is the current order from Nevada County health officials. And we have put in place a bead system. Now, the first one is a red necklace, and this just simply allows you to communicate your comfort zone. So if you, I mean, obviously everybody's masked, If you want people to not physically touch you and you want people to stay 6 feet away from you, you can wear a red bead, and that will communicate that. We have a yellow bead. And so if you are still trying to figure it out, what your comfort zone is person to person, it simply cues people to ask you before approaching you or reaching out to touch you. And if you are comfortable with people interacting with you in close physical proximity, you're okay with handshakes and hugs, you can wear a green necklace, and that communicates that to folks. We also have seat savers, so if you want to establish your comfort zone in the seats, you can grab a couple of those, put one on either side of you, and that just signifies folks to stay that distance. Above all else, if you have any symptoms of anything that might possibly in some way, even remotely on planet Earth, be contagious, please stay home. It's really that simple. If by off chance you have been here at the center and then within a short period of time come up with a positive COVID test, please do reach out and let me know so that we can be in integrity with contact tracing. Okay. Actualizing wholeness. This was our David Bohm discussion group. We have canceled it for the rest of the year, and we will reevaluate that in the coming year, whether we want to continue that. We are launching, we've had folks in the greater Nevada City and Grass Valley community reach out to us to get support for parents that are challenged with children that have either substance abuse diagnosis or mental health diagnosis. There's nothing available. There's no place for those parents to meet and share resources. And so we are launching that. It will be this coming Thursday at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. right here. This is what it's not. It is not therapy. Okay? It is not an indoctrination into any religious belief system. What it is an opportunity for you to come share experiences, solutions, resources in a confidential, brave space. There is no charge for participating. It is a fee-free offering, and there will be a love offering basket available should you choose to donate to defray the costs of opening the center. So there's that. Our next announcement, it's that time of the year, and so we are launching our annual intentional giving pledge drive. This year, it is practicing reciprocity. Reciprocity is an amazing spiritual principle that you're going to hear a lot more about during the talk today, and throughout the whole month of November. Cards will be going out this week in the mail to folks. I'm also going to work with Dina to see if we can get some version of this available online for people to fill out online so that we don't have to deal with the Postal Service if you don't want to. And there's always the option to call, and either Juanita or myself will walk you through it over the phone. One thing to say about this, healthy organizations, and this is soft science study. Okay? Healthy organizations are able to evidence approximately 67% of their annual budget by the end of the year through intentional, committed giving commitments. And so really that's what this is about. It also has a place, if you are a member, to reaffirm, to recommit to being a member of the center. If you're not currently an official member, it gives you a little box to check that you would like to become a member, and then we will start some new membership classes, and we will make that happen pretty quickly. All right. Next month, I'm sure many of you are aware, has this holiday called Thanksgiving. Last year, we weren't able to have our in-person Thanksgiving Eve service. This year, we are going to do that. It is a time where we come together. One of the things that I'm planning for this year is to make space for anybody who wants to share their gratitude for what they have experienced over the past year. Because when we speak our gratitude, it amplifies our gratitude. And then we will do a visioning process and give everybody the opportunity to write what they're going to be grateful for now, a year from now. Because when we, as Deborah shared with us last week, when we believe in what we don't see, we make it happen. And so we write, I am grateful for whatever it is we want to be grateful for a year from now. We start being grateful for it now throughout the whole year. And so we will do that. Another thing that happens this time of year is we are looking for board members. We have 2 openings on our board. You can see there the little happy smiling faces of all of our current board members. Marilyn Gale is our president. Diana Carolyn is our vice president. Hillary Dart is our treasurer. Deborah Ellis is one of our members. Stephen Hiding is our recording secretary. Mary Lou Knapp is one of our members. I am a de facto member of our board of trustees and the corporate secretary. And if you'll notice, there are 2 spots that say, you? Specifically, the skill sets that we're looking for that will really enhance what we do here is folks that have expertise and passion in marketing and fundraising. So, if that's you and it's a spiritual call, talk to me. All right. We will be having our in-person Christmas Eve service this year. It will be on Friday, December 24th at 6 p.m. That is a candle lighting service. It is a place where we look at the birth of consciousness in form, and we have an opportunity to light a candle saying yes to a divine idea of creation that it is wanting to birth as us. And a couple of space savers for next year already. I've been busy. Saturday, January 1st, 2022, from 12 o'clock noon until 4 p.m., we will be doing a vision board workshop right here. It is a whopping $25, and that pays for everything. It pays for your vision board, your glue, everything you need. You just have to show up, and we'll take care of you from there. There'll be more coming out on that soon with how you register and so forth for that. And finally, next year, we're going to start a Wednesday evening discussion group here in person, and I'm going to try to do that as a hybrid called Going Deeper. And what we're really going to do is use, and this is where the next slide comes in, Del. Centers for Spiritual Living has created this amazing spiritual journal that follows along with the Sunday talks and the Sunday talk themes, and it gives you space to journal about, to take notes in the Sunday talk, to journal about how that's opening you and bringing stuff up within you. It's also a at-a-glance calendar. It has weekly positive affirmations in it. It is $14.95. You can order it through shop.csl.org. And you don't have to get that to participate, but it might be something that will assist you. I know Deborah and I use them. And we'll just gather on Wednesdays to share and learn with one another about how the annual themes are carrying us through the year and growing us, because it's one thing to grow within ourselves. It's a whole nother to grow and learn with one another because people share things that we haven't thought about, and it expands us. So we'll be doing that on Wednesday evenings, starting in January of 2022. Okay, let's take a breath and shift. A lot of information. All of that will be in the newsletter that I will send out later this afternoon. So this is our time of inward shift. And our principle, our value this morning is community. And I'm just going to say this about community. We can choose to have a faux community, a look-good community, or we can choose to have a authentic community. But we can't do both because authenticity is gloriously messy. It's kind of like, I looked at myself in the mirror this morning and it's like, authenticity is a lot like growing out my beard every year. It's messy and it looks gnarly for a little while until everybody catches it, all the little hairs catch up with each other, right? Authentic community is very much the same way. We rub each other. We have what appears to be conflict, and really it's just growth. Really it's just getting to know one another. And when we will dare to meet each other in love and authenticity, an amazing thing happens. And it creates a community that has bonds that COVID and earthquakes and storms and fires can't penetrate. It creates that foundation when everything falls apart. You know you have a community to fall back into that will catch you with open arms no matter what's happening. That is the community that I invite you to take into meditation this morning. So with this breath, I recognize the one, the infinite, the ever-present allness of life, the source, the substance, the activity of creation. I recognize it as life, as love, as peace, as power, as presence, as infinite intelligence, infinite abundance. I recognize it as being fully present in, through, and as all. And so knowing this, I know that I am created out of it, by it, to be it, to expand its experience of itself as this thing I call my life. And I know in the unity and the oneness of creation that what is true of me is true of all life. And so every form, everyone listening, everyone who will ever listen, everyone who doesn't, is this divine magnificence expanding the infinite's experience of itself in form. And so I speak my word this morning knowing it is the word of the infinite speaking itself into being, claiming and affirming, celebrating that this time together is a time of life, a time of peace, a time of passion, a time of power, a time of reverence, a time of illumination. I surrender myself to be used, my human self. I speak a word of gratitude for every heart and hand, for every moment of service in the production, in the happening of this time together. I speak a word of gratitude for all that have come before and laid the groundwork for this building, for the technology. Grateful, grateful, grateful. And so I simply release my word knowing that it's already fulfilled, that every perfect thing has already happened, and we are simply bearing witness to it as it unfolds. That everything that needs to be said is said, everything that needs to be heard is heard, every question that needs to spark curiosity is allowed. So I let it go. I let it be. And so it is. This is our time for our affirmation. And so I will read it through once, and then I invite you to say it with me. See if I have that. There it is. I step beyond my old limited ideas into a fresh new field of freedom. Let's say that together. I step beyond my old ideas into a fresh new field of freedom. Our musicians are going to sing to us again.
I'm going to give this a try. Brand new piece. Some years ago, I took a piece of a Rumi poem and put it to music, and that became The Breeze at Dawn, a song we've sung here many times. Now I've done it again. Only this time I've got, it's several pieces, actually from the same poem that I've weaved together. And this time I've taken a few liberties with the original lines. So my apologies to Master Rumi and his translator, Coleman Barks. But here we go. see your face, the stone starts spinning. When I see your face, the stone starts spinning. I lose my place. Can't do my homework. And now I don't want what I thought I wanted. I don't want what I thought. Those three little hanging lamps. What I want with three little hanging lamps. I want the whole daylight full of small dancing particles. And the one great turning souls dancing with you. Not the five-toed articles, I'm talking about the souls of the union. Can you see them? Can you see them? Can you? Right here. When I sing this in your ear. You know, I woke up this morning empty and frightened. Woke up this morning empty and frightened. I just had to play. You know, this guitar kills depression. There are 1,000 ways to kneel in the presence, 1,000 ways to kneel. Let the beauty beloved be loved. Let it be what we do. Be do, be do, be do. There's a field out there way beyond our philosophy. What kind of grass be growing in the soil of a world too full to even talk about? Only the soul be knowing the words, brother. Even the phrase each other suspends. It doesn't make a bit of sense. To the orchard in spring, there's lights and wines, sweethearts in the pomegranate flowers. If you do not come, these do not matter. If you do come, these do not matter. Come to the orchard in spring, there's light and wine, and the sweethearts in the pomegranate flowers. If you do not come, these do not matter. If you do come, these do not matter. Stone starts spinning, and I lose my place.
So, before we get started, I've had this joke running me all week, so I'm just going to share it with you. German Shepherd, a horse, and a cat all go to heaven. And the anthropomorphized God that we often talk about is having a conversation with him. And he asked the horse, he said, what did you do and what do you believe? And he said, I was a servant to humanity because I believe that it was the best use of my power and my strength to transport people. Great. You can sit right here beside me. God asked the German Shepherd, what have you done with your life and what do you believe? The German Shepherd said, well, I worked in law enforcement most of my career and I protected people and I protected my handler and I saved a lot of people from dangerous situations because I believe that that's my strength, is to intervene where humans can't. God said, great, you can sit right here. And then God turned to the cat and said, and what is it that you do and what is it that you believe? And the cat said, I believe you're sitting in my seat. And if you've ever owned a cat, you know that's true. Let's take a breath together. So this morning we are closing out our October theme, Going Further Together. And we started out with the divine community, and then we talked about our shared vision, and we talked about the we is greater than me, and last week we played with the idea of digging deep. And this week, we're wrapping it all up with, I'll meet you there. And where is there? Hold on to that. Our context for the month was this idea, this philosophy, the Zulu tradition, if you will, way of life, of Ubuntu. I am because we are. That really speaks to the unity, that speaks to letting go of the individual identity of who I am, and to understand that who I am is inextricably linked to the wholeness of creation, that there is no idea of me separate from anything. The timeless wisdom that we've been working with is we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. That's big. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. The evolutionary wisdom that we've been working with from our Centers for Spiritual Living global vision has been, we envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. And so those three things give us the idea of wholeness. The timeless wisdom calls us to have an awareness of that wholeness. And the evolutionary vision pulls us into a realization of that wholeness. Because when we realize, when we make wholeness real, we will have a world that works for everyone. It will be unavoidable. Think about that, unavoidable. So we started off the month with this quote that I just love from Pierre Teilhard Chardin, which was, and he was a significant influence on Ernest Holmes. Driven by the forces of love, the fragments of the world seek each other so that the world may come into being. Now, is that not wholeness recollecting itself? And that the impetus for that is love. So if we remove everything unlike that, love will have its way with us. We don't have to create more love. Rumi says that our job is not to create more love. Our job is to remove the barriers that we've created against it. I love me some Rumi. And so what if we focused on being the love that we are instead of spending so much time trying to stop problems? What if we spent our time and focus in the solutions? Because here's the truth of the matter. I can stare at my flat tire and I can imagine it full of air. And I can imagine all of the tire companies in the world producing tires that never go flat. But until I do something to remedy my current flat tire, until I move from problem identification to solution realization, my tire is going to stay flat. And my truck is going to go instead of right? And so how often do we ignore the in our spiritual lives? We hear the problem, we're feeling the problem, we focus on the problem. But we forget to move to solution. because we're fixated. Right? I used to have, when I was doing clinical social work, I had a stash of little boxes called the why box. And when I had clients that were really stuck in figuring out why, really convinced that if they could just figure out why, all the problems would magically correct themselves. There was a little box, and on the top it said why with a question mark. And when you opened it up, it said because. Because that's the only thing why is going to tell you. It is simply going to give you because. It doesn't give you a solution. It's really a profoundly intellectual form of blame. We want to know who to blame because then they're responsible and I'm not. Doesn't work that way. Because even if it is their fault, blaming them changes nothing. You're still in your situation. And your situation is still demanding a solution, which is always alive in you, simply waiting for you to recognize it, embody it, and act upon it. It's that simple. And yet there's nothing easy about it. Right? Simple does not mean easy. But our affirmation this morning helps us with that. And I invite you to keep it handy this week. I step beyond my old limited ideas into a fresh new field of freedom. That's powerful. We cannot hold on to our old thinking and step into freedom. Doesn't work that way. You got to cut the chain in order to get free. Okay? What is that? A complete emancipation from all discord of every nature. Emancipation is the process of becoming free. We have to emancipate ourselves. We have to be willing to roll up our sleeves and do the work in consciousness that lets go, that steps beyond the old limited ideas that we've been holding. We have to get out of our comfort zone. And oddly enough, most of us have a horribly uncomfortable comfort zone. Right? It's like, yes, this is horrible. Yes, I'm miserable. And let someone try to take it away from you. This is mine. Because it's familiar. And there is a tremendous comfort in familiarity, even if it's familiarity of our discomfort. It's weird. Human beings are weird that way. I watch my dogs. And I really wonder how it is, other than a self-proclaimed superiority, that humans decided we were superior to animals. If my dogs eat something and it makes them sick, they won't eat it again. How many of us will keep going back for more? Right? I have been attending rooms where groups of us meet to save one another and ourselves from that habit in many, many ways for almost 40 years, because we missed that little valve when we were put together in creation that says, this is hurting you, stop it. Because something inside says, I can master this. But why? Why do we want to master the problem instead of moving away from condition into solution? It's an interesting thing. But and the more we invest in the problem, the harder it is to let it go. Because, oh man, and we will sit there and we will go through the calculations of how deep our investment is and I'm not giving up now. When giving up now launches you into a life of freedom and joy and bliss beyond your wildest imagination. But we are committed to solving this problem instead of living in solution. They're very different. Solution requires us to abandon the problem, to completely let it go. Now, I'm going to touch on reciprocity this morning. All next month, we're going to talk about reciprocity in different forms. But the universe, we live in a reciprocal system, right? It rains, feeds the earth, it evaporates, goes up, it rains. There's a reciprocity happening. I move this here, energy just moved everywhere. Everything works in synchronicity and reciprocity. The thoughts that we hold in consciousness, creation says, here you go. It is an immediate reciprocal relationship. And we have to remember how this threefold thing of creation works. It's not three things, it's one thing threefold. Okay? Mind, source, spirit, whatever we call it, whether you call it God, doesn't matter. What matters is that we understand that that is the mental part, that is the imaginal part, that is the idea part, the aspect of the one. Law is just how it operates. It's the activity. And part of the challenge is not getting stuck in the words. We have to use words because we live on planet Earth. It's how we communicate. But we got to understand that there are no words in our language to adequately talk about the infinite because our words are finite, right? And our words are individualized agreements of meaning. And we don't all agree on what the same word means. So you may be thinking you're communicating, but you're not, right? So source, law, or action. And that is actually the soul of creation. Creation has a soul. It's the activity of it. You and I do not have our own soul. What we are is soul, because we are the activity of creation. Right? But we've been taught that we have a separate soul. Can't have anything separate in oneness. It's a lot to wrap our heads around. That's the constant journey. Like, everything looks really separate. We're not. Okay. And we have to dance with that. And the third aspect of that threefold nature is form, the physical. Right? And as much as it looks separate, it's not. It's just a different expression. Okay? Think about your own self for a minute. You have an idea, right? And sometimes you express it in silence. And sometimes you express it in writing. And sometimes you express it painting. Some, you might express it musically. You might express it as a temper tantrum. Right? Still the same idea, still the same you, but a multiplicity of ways to express. That's all that's happening in creation. There's one thing, multiple ideas, multiple expressions, but it's still just one thing. Right? And so we grapple with that. Ernest Holmes says this: we must transcend the appearance even though we admit it as a fact. Okay? We have to, this is all about awareness. Okay? It's about changing those labels. It's about being very intentional about the language we use, but more than that, about the beliefs we hold. That yes, when I'm stacking chairs, I stack them one at a time. I have yet, I don't have the to just. I'm still working on it. Been working on it since I was a kid, watching it on TV. I haven't seen to make that link yet. Okay, so I'm still dealing with things that appear separate. What's important is that I understand that it's not, that they're just individualized expressions. Thomas Troward says this. I just ran across this. It may be the most powerful, and I love me some Thomas Troward. This may be the most powerful thing I've ever read that he said. We shall eventually, what we shall eventually attain is not what we merely wish, but what we regard as normal. Let me say that again. What we shall eventually attain is not what we merely wish, but what we regard as normal. That's the activity of faith. This idea of what's normal, because normal is that place in our human awareness where we don't question things, right? That's just how it is. That is the profound activity of faith. Faith is the belief in things not seen but hoped for, the substance of that, right? When we really get our own faith so committed that what we call miracles are normalicals, right? That we're not surprised when life works in our favor because we know so deeply that that's how it works, that it's normal. When normal is more expected than conflict, right? When we're surprised by war because love and cooperation and unity is the norm. That's when a world that works for everybody is going to show up. We cannot simultaneously hold this nonsense that, and maybe I'm the only one that hears it, well, that's just how society is. That's just how humans are. Well, that's our government. And then my favorite, only in fill in the blank. Right? And every community uses that phrase like it's really only happening in their community. Right? Only in California. People in Virginia are saying the same thing. Right? Because we have all accepted the collective consciousness. We have all accepted the socialization of conditioning as normal. What if it's not? What if there's nothing normal about living in a restricted consciousness? What if there's nothing normal about living in limitation and lack? What if there's nothing normal about needing a healthcare system because there's nothing normal about illness? And what if we started focusing on health? What if we understood that really illness is just another word for the lowest end of health? There's still health present, but we tend to think of illness as the absence of health. It's not. We tend to think of the number in our bank account as the absence of wealth. It's not. It is a surrender to a limitation. And the minute we begin to shift into what's normal, is that everything I need I already have. That everyone I want I already have. That every idea that comes to my mind is a divine idea in the mind of God, and it's already unfolding. If we knew that, we would be at peace. I recently was engaged in a activity with some folks, and it was a situation where some choices had to be made. And there was a whole lot of, are you going to be okay? And I'm like, here's what I'm telling you. The decision, whatever it is, has already been made in the mind of the infinite. And we are all just participating in unfolding it in human form. So of course I'm at peace with it. And I am, and I have been, and I will continue to be. Because the idea that I know what's supposed to happen, that's my humanness. Creation itself creates in multiplicity and then lets go. There's the example, folks. Let go. Right? Have the divine idea. Be aware of what that idea is. Own it. Celebrate it. Speak it into being. And then be amazed at how all that happens. Be amazed at the form it shows up in. Those of us that are parents, did your child show up the way you think they were going to show up? No. They did when they were first born. That part was pretty close, right? And then they developed mobility. And then not so much. And then they developed language, and things seemed to go even further downhill. And then they got a driver's license. Holy moly, right? And all of a sudden, your divine idea of a child is not unfolding the way you planned. And the first time you get a call from an emergency department, and your child is there, that wasn't part of the plan. Or was it? Right? We are all empowered to live life to its fullest, unrestricted. Lean into that, but you have to do it for yourself first. I'm going to wrap up with this. If you don't let yourself go to that place beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, you can't let anybody else be there. The first field that you have to discover is in your own consciousness. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. Find that field in your own consciousness first. Then I'll meet you there. When the soul, the activity of creation, lies down in that grass, rests, the world, all of it, is too full to talk about. Why? Because now we would be talking about an experience of the infinite with finite words. It won't work. It's too full to talk about ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. That is available to you, beloved, in every breath you take. You have the capacity within you to move through life and to know from here to here, to know here that everything in form and everything in between form, everything you experience is the divine unfolding itself. And you are the divine experiencing it unfolding itself. That's all that's happening. And it's perfect, and it's whole, and it's complete. And really, when it gets down to it, there are no problems. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong. It just is what it is. Let's take this into prayer. As I allow myself to become cognizant of this one of this preciousness, of this wholeness, this perfection, this completeness that I call life. I am reminded that I am that. I am reminded that all life is that. So I speak my word, recommitting to living in intentional awareness, letting go of old ideas of limitation, allowing myself to be made new again by the renewing of my mind, to be transformed by the renewing of my mind, to live in awareness that all is God and God is all there is, that love is the greatest power there is, and all life is that expressing. And so I celebrate. I surrender to living in joy. I let it go. I let it be. And so it is. Just take a breath. And I know I'm a little bit over, and, well, that's all right. I had to figure out the timing of all those announcements that some guy wrote. So this is our time of intentional giving. Again, I want to mention that we are launching our intentional giving program. Those will be coming out later this week. And I want to invite you to read our intentional giving affirmation with me. Here we go. I give this gift with love and joy from a consciousness of abundance. Divine love blesses and prospers all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Ushers, please receive the gift.
Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me.
Money is
Coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. I can just feel it,
feel it.
and I believe.
I believe.
Coming to me now.
Coming to me
I'm not worried about
I'm
how.
not worried about how.
Money is coming to me.
Come on, come on, come on.
More than enough to live.
More than enough to live.
More than enough to give.
More than enough to give.
More than enough to share.
More than enough to
Feels
share.
like it's already here.
Feels like it's already here.
More than enough to shop.
More than enough to shop.
More than enough to
More
drop.
than enough to drop.
More than enough to save. With plenty left over to give away. And money is coming to me. I can just feel it,
Feel it.
and I believe.
I believe.
Coming to me now.
Coming to me
I'm
now.
not worried about
I'm
how.
not worried about how.
Money is coming to me.
Come on, come on, come on.
Money is coming to me.
If you don't want to be on camera, I'll just take this and I'll give it right back to you. Hang on. Someday we're going to get over being camera shy altogether. And so I speak a word of blessing, a word of gratitude for the energy of the divine as money, sustaining us in this operation, in this ministry here on planet Earth, growing us, allowing us to expand our services and to give through Sierra Center to those doing good work in the world that we support. And so it is. Okay, couple of reminders. If you are not currently receiving our newsletter and would like to, please send me an email at revrafe@sierracenter.org and we will get you hooked up. If you're on Zoom, you can put that in the chat. If you're on Facebook Live, you can put a note there. If you don't want to put your email address there on Facebook, which I certainly understand, you can message it to me. You can text it to me at 916-390-7036. You can email me. You can tie it to a pigeon and fly it my direction. Whatever works. We typically don't mail out the newsletter, but if you absolutely don't do anything online, get with me after service and we'll figure out a way to get you the information. So, yeah, we'll look at that because we typically don't, but thank you for sharing that. See, this is how community works. If you got something, speak it out because it's not in my idea, but it's in yours, and so we will figure out a way to make that happen for you. I want to thank Dell for being the wizard behind the curtain. The rest of you at home can't see this, but I'll just say here on Halloween Day, I know where Waldo is. Thank you, Jill Wiggins, for being our greeter, our usher, our candlelighter, and just for being your amazing, remarkable self. Thank you. Thank you, Valerie, for being our vocalist this morning. Thank you, Jeff, Jeff, for those of you who don't know, Jeff is our music director, and he does an amazing job. He really does. I send him the talk titles and blurbs and say, figure it out, and he does.
He's a really great guy, too.
Yes, he is. And thank you, each of you, because this is a lot more fun to do with you than to do without you. And I now have solid experience to speak to that with authority. I was in here for about a year speaking to empty chairs. That was just weird. So it's good to have you back. I'm going to invite you to stand if you're there in virtual land, to engage your body, and let's do our benediction together. Up we go. Something wonderful is happening as me right now.
Something wonderful is happening as me right now.
It is this thing called wholeness. It is this thing called perfection. It is this thing called freedom. I know it. I feel it. I sense it. Say this one like you mean it. Because I am it. And so it is. Sing us out, musicians.
I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm